So a little over a month ago, Oracle surprises everybody, right? $100 billion deal AI, right? That can't happen again. That's just wrong. AMD up 27% on what? Some AI deals. I guess that development day, Open AI development day, we're going to get a few surprises there. That's giving a kick to the market. No econ data. Who needs a government anyways, right? Greg Weldon, 8:35. He'll talk about macro, metals, the dollars, jobs. And of course, we got Triple D all dressed up today on this Monday. It's pre-market prep. It's going to be a wild week. Let's get it started.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
You gotta chase in this market. Up 24.5 handles, 87, 88.50. Not quite at Friday's all-time high. The buck having a good day. Up 64 cents at 98.06. TLT pulling back after some consolidation. Down 54 cents at 88.79. USO back to the bottom of the trading range, trying to catch a bid. Up 62 cents, 72.33. Let's own gold. GLD up 427, nearly 362. SLV up 0.7%. Up 30 cents, 43.82, and Bitcoin doesn't want to be left out. That's up over 1%. $1,600 on the futures, 125,235. And as promised, the best dressed man on Wall Street. Let's bring him in. Triple D, what do you got on there?
Look at this. Look at the bling. Nice. Representing here. We're like a real company now. Shirts and everything going on. Getting fancy here. Not too bad. Before we get going, it was a very special day yesterday. And yes, the Lions' victory was special. The Tigers' lack of a victory was not. But Mr. Elconin celebrated his 82nd birthday. Yay!
Oh, close.
82 years old. Does he not look fantastic for 82? The best swimmer in Michigan, the best technical analyst you will find in the world. For 82. Oh, yeah, the senior. You're right, for seniors. Yeah, 82 years old, folks. Look at this guy on the big screen. How does he get any better looking here? 82 years old.
The 61 puts are worthless.
61.
61 puts went off the board.
They went off the board. Yep. The 62 calls, man, they are bid. They're bid heavy.
He's got to correct it.
I would go, if you want to put a spread on, I would buy the 62 calls and sell the 90 calls, you're
giving yourself some time.
Yeah, Joel.
Timed expiration here. This is what
I'd
sell my own 80 calls. 90's pretty good. You know what, though? This guy's in the best shape. I might even buy the 90 calls on this guy for his age.
Oh, they're cheap.
Man, you're killing it, Joel. You're killing it.
Leaps.
Is he really 82, SB asks?
No. Just a big thanks out to my girls. My wife, Lisa. I mean, this celebration started on Friday and then Saturday with the Michigan game. Saturday night, everyone came over for dinner. Saturday night, the Tigers pull it out. Sunday, the Lions pull it out. The little tough game here for the Tigers last night.
That's okay, though. We just wanted the split in Seattle.
Yes.
That's all we needed. We got the split, so we're in good shape. That's it. So.
And here's the funny thing is, like I told Lisa, I'm getting over, I'm 60, 61, 62. I gotta take some emphasis off sports. We gotta, and then, we have the sports weekend, and she's like, well, I guess we'll wait till you're 63 to take a little emphasis. But she got me, I got some nice runners.
We'll never be able to take the emphasis off sports. I wake up thinking about sports. I go to bed thinking
sports.
about sports.
But no, come on, man.
This morning. I woke up thinking about AMD
Oh,
because it was popping up with pop-ups at me. I was like, did somebody buy it? I'm like looking at the price. Did it get bought out? I'm like, what's going on here? Well, pretty darn good deal here. So Brentster, give us the details. OpenAI Development Day here, and OpenAI does not disappoint with a banger right off the hop.
Yep, they are going to be doing a deal with AMD. They're calling a strategic partnership to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs, graphics processing units. A couple quick quotes here. As part of the deal, AMD has issued OpenAI a warrant for up to 160 million shares of AMD stock structured to vest as specific milestones are achieved. There's no like value here, but there is a mention by the company, by AMD's CFO, saying our partnership with OpenAI is expected to deliver tens of billions of dollars in revenue for AMD while accelerating OpenAI's AI infrastructure build out. Dennis, you saw an article from a Reuters reporter that said AMD expects to receive more than $100 billion in new revenue over the next 4 years from this deal.
Yeah. So just follow up because of the ripple effect of the agreement. Quoting from the article, AMD expects to receive more than 100 billion new revenue over 4 years from OpenAI and other customers. So it's a huge deal for AMD. It puts them on the map. We've been talking about AMD. I've been talking about it for 2 years. It was my acronym for the last 2 years. That's how much I believe in the stock. It was also one of the biggest positions in my long-term portfolio, which just got obviously 27% bigger here this morning. I've just been saying, I mean, there's NVIDIA, and then there's going to be a clear number 2. And I believe it's going to be AMD. I think the world is starting to see it's going to be AMD. You cannot bet against Lisa Su. AMD is for real. The reason, too, I look at AMD and I look at Dell, or not Dell, sorry, look at AMD and look at NVIDIA. And it's sometimes a good exercise to just, think about market caps, not looking at PEs and trailing PEs. We've been talking about not doing that, but just looking at pure market caps. And if you go into like an NVIDIA, as NVIDIA approaches, and I don't know why the heck my system's so slow, $4.56 trillion market cap. So $4.5 trillion is AMD, or is NVIDIA. Now, if we go to AMD's market cap, which again, system running super slow here. I'll have to maybe reboot this computer. AMD's market cap at the close, so this doesn't include the big pop today, is only $266 billion. So when you're doing the math here, this is just a drop in the bucket compared to the size of NVIDIA. If AMD can actually become a clear number 2, there is so much room for this market cap to expand for AMD. Is it out of the realm of possibilities to think of AMD as a $1 trillion company? That would be a $600 stock if that happened. That's not out of the realm of possibility. So I'm going to continue to stay long AMD. I've been holding true to it. I've been buying more. I bought more at 141, in the STN room back in April, I think it was, or May. Well, actually, in the STN room, I bought more at 81, and then I flipped it out because it went up 20% the day I bought it. That was on the Trump day. But, man, I just got to tell you, this company here is, I think it's still just that people don't realize how small it is compared to NVIDIA. I think it has the potential to grow to be a clear number 2 to NVIDIA.
First question I asked, and you guys addressed it right away, and also Nabs in the chat here. They got the money, right, for these deals, to pay out these deals, Brentster?
OpenAI?
I mean,
yeah.
They have the finance. They have the financing. They're one of the most liquidly, I don't think that's a word, but they're one of the most well-financed companies in the world. But still, the point is, do they have, are they paying people with money that they don't have? I mean, that's kind of how the business world works.
I mean, it's just changed so much. I mean, and again, we can clearly see it is stories and deals driving the bus now. Here's a huge deal for AMD. Stock goes up huge. We've saw Nebius. We keep seeing these deals. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility on OpenAI Development Day that we're going to hear more deals today.
Oh, yeah.
So just, being short any type of AI stock right now is a risk here, especially going into OpenAI Development Day, which I believe starts at 1 p.m. officially today. So it's it's one thing to say, look, these valuations are all nuts. And, this might bring us into our quantum conversation in a second. But, I mean, the story is here. It's sexy. We know retail only cares about a story. They don't care about valuation until they do. So I think it's just hard to bet against any of these AI companies. So like even you look, it's not just AMD obviously moving this morning. We got all 215 now. I mean, AMD is just ripping high. It's 31% here now. But clear loser is Nvidia, but it's only down $1. It doesn't even go down. So I mean, here's bang, AMD's on the map. OpenAI's really believing in them. You would think Nvidia would get hit on this, barely getting hit. Intel's up 51 cents because there's still rumors that Intel and AMD might do a deal, even though AMD, I was rumored that got squashed Friday. But stock doesn't go down anyways. But you think about the Dells, you think about the SMCIs, you can think about like there's 100 stocks you can think about probably benefiting from more investment into AI. And that's what we're seeing this morning.
Boy, different setup here. I would like to put it in the context of the Oracle setup, which did make a blow off top that day. I mean, there's no doubt, but the difference here is that was making a blow off top to a new all-time high. This is not making a new all-time high. So as much as I want to try and draw a correlation, because this is almost the exact same thing, $100 billion deal looking out forward, it's a different technical setup, right? You're way off that all-time high. So you got to let the dust settle here. You're working your way into a big bar right here. And I think the only thing that you can think about right now is 227.30. And that's the all-time high. And that is like, will it be there before the show ends? I don't know. But that's
what is the all-time high?
227.30.
It might be there before you end your sentence. You just rallied 5 points in your sentence. What's going on? Like you just rallied another 10 points.
Intel's moving now too.
I love it. I mean, I love it, but it's up 34%.
Yeah,
this is not a small company. This isn't like a little $2 billion company. Like it's a $270 billion company. But I do believe I'm not selling into this rally because I do believe now I'm going to trade. You can trade anything, but I do believe that there's a potential for this thing to go a hell of a lot higher when you look at it in comparison to Nvidia. Unless you think Nvidia is just a huge bubble too, and 4.5 trillion doesn't make any sense at all. But when you compare apples to Nvidia, I mean, it's hard. But holy cow.
Forget about that red bar. That's just that was on the 8 o'clock hour, and that was some prints going off. So we're not going to worry about that. But there you go. There's the price action. What an eye opener here on this Monday. As you said, Nvidia selling off a little bit. Broadcom doesn't seem to be affected that much by the deal. And then who else do we throw in this into this fray as far as potential?
Oracle's moving up. I'm long Oracle, although I'm long Oracle for a trade too, so I will be selling some Oracle. I've actually been lightening up my Oracle all morning. Dell. I mean, there's a million stocks you can talk about here.
I'm just thinking, and who is a positive negative for? We talk about AMD.
Oh, I think Nvidia.
Nvidia, that's it.
Like again, yeah, I think so. I mean, here's AMD. The algos have got a hold of it right now. You could just leave AMD up, and we just talk the whole show. It just keeps going.
We'll just sit here. We'll just put the 1 minute up AMD, and then we'll just come back with our guest at 8:35.
Yeah, we'll just leave it right up there.
Here's happening.
Like that for you. Johann Svensson, AMD 5-year forward PEG is only 0.52. We don't talk about the PEG very much on the show. We probably should. Price earnings ratios comparing to the growth rate of those earnings. So they always say PEG of 1 is pretty good. You get a PEG under 1, its stock is cheap. You get a PEG over 2, it starts to get expensive. It's kind of how. I don't know if that stat's right, Johan. I haven't looked at the PEG on AMD for a long time, but story is there, price is there. This thing is trading so fast right now. I don't even know how you can trade this unless you're an algorithm. It was just 223 when I started my sentence. Now it's 220. Crazy moves. Wow, big move.
I mean, the only reason that you may want to look at this is if, like, if you bought some short dated options on this. That's the only reason. I mean, if oh, I'll take a flyer on a 190 calls or something like that. Some of the prices that you're going to see today, early in the session, let's just call it 220. I mean, it's going to be up and down and all around 230, 210, 215 or whatever. But, just keep an eye on that. The value of these options that open at around, with the value at this 220 area could be a heck of a lot different this morning than it would be on Friday, because the volatility is going to spike. I don't know what the short interest in this is in it, but keep an eye on a pre-market high. We'll see. We all know what Oracle did, and just great price action. We boom. Do we want to talk about something negative, or do we
I want to
to
go to the quantum stocks.
You want to go to quantum?
So,
Okay.
yeah, if you're looking and you're like, wow, man, what a rip roaring rally, everything's going. What's wrong with those quantum stocks? We got the big four and they're all trading down. What's going on here? Brentster, if you can show the image that was flying around in social media over the weekend here. I saw this and I'm like, whoa. So anyways, here is, somebody did boots on the ground and they went to the headquarters of the big four: IONQ, RGTI, QBTS, QUBT. They put the market cap. So IONQ, these are the headquarters, what they look like. So click the IONQ. It's on the top left corner. Yeah. Top right is which one?
That one's Rigetti. This one
Rigetti?
in the bottom, yep, and top right, bottom left is D-Wave. You can see the little sign there, and then the one with the Citibank says quantum.
This one
computing.
Here, it's just got that little apartment building, quantum computing.
There's no sign or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I look at this and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, again, these companies are worth some money. Maybe they're building some elaborate headquarters here and stuff now because they got some real money in them. But it kind of looks straight out of Boiler Room here, like the movie you've seen, Boiler Room, where they're all invested in all these companies, and then somebody actually goes over to the address and they're like, there's nothing in here. I hope there's something in there. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, the images were damning. That was scary when I looked at that. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, I don't know. And these are zero revenue companies here too. So I love the story. And I've been a big believer in quantum. I've been playing it through IBM because I feel like IBM is a safer way to play it. But these stocks just keep on going and going and going. Well, they're all trading down this morning. And this is the reason, because it's social media posting. That one there was over 1 million hits, but then it was spread out. So it got millions and millions of hits over the weekend. And people are like, what are we investing in? They're not down much though. So I'll give you that, and not like it's new information. I mean, somebody just went to the headquarters and looked at it. This is public information that was out there, but it was a pretty scary post. So I don't know what to say about that, but I'll tell you the stocks, have run a long ways here now. The market caps are pretty crazy. I do believe this quantum story though. So maybe, the other argument is, a lot of these other companies like Microsoft and stuff started out of people's garage. I mean, Benzinga, Jason Raznick started out of a garage and blew that into a really big company there too. So, I mean, these companies got to start somewhere. But, I mean, they're worth $23 billion. Maybe we've just overvalued them a little bit here until we actually get some revenue coming in. But that's the thought process here with the quantum stocks.
Well,
a little bit scary when you look at the offices.
You know what? When I look at those pictures, you know what I think?
What?
Do they have real estate agents?
Yeah.
Because
you got $23 billion. I gotta say, I would hope in 2 to 3 years that's not their offices anymore. When IONQ is worth $23 billion, let's go spend $100 million and get a cool office, and let's look let's
get a better sign.
Let's get that going. So maybe we just got to go talk to them, and say, hey, we want to invest in you, but I don't really like looking at it's like an apartment, an apartment building here that looks like it's got 600 square feet and paying $5 billion for you. They're a little bit scarier. So Apple, same thing. Apple's down the street from me. EKS says 1976. So they got to start somewhere. So I'm not saying these are shorts. I'm not saying these are lies. I'm telling you the news. This is why those stocks are down this morning, because somebody went to these headquarters and sent this all around. I know Martin Shkreli has been saying they're all shorts, and he was really retweeting a lot of this stuff. But wow.
Those how about a little paint?
Not impressive headquarters, we'll say that much.
Some window shades. The parking lot probably could redo. Doesn't look like there's a lot of cars there, so they must be light on the workforce there.
The picture's not where maybe just maybe, we got to give them a break here and say, don't judge a book by its cover. We'll say that. But wow, those are not impressive headquarters, not at all.
Well, trading QBTS is trading down 30 cents here at 240, right? So that's not down a lot. And then let's just look at the charts. RGTI new all-time high Friday. QBTS down. I mean, they're not down much on this. So I guess if you want to consider this reaction to bad news, but interesting to look at, to say the least.
Okay, Citron tweeting here. Why Inflection, which is a SPAC right now, CCCX, is outpacing RGTI and why the market hasn't priced it in. So Citron looks like, I don't know if they had this pick before, but it does bring up the chart. Did it just pop on this tweet?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a new post from Citron. Citron's been moving stocks like crazy. We know Andrew Leftover at Citron moves stocks. So he's calling this the most compelling trade in quantum. CCCX right here, right now. It is moving here. Real revenues versus research grants. He's comparing it to RGTI. They have $29 million in real revenue. RGTI only has $11 million or something. I'm just quickly going through what he just tweeted here, but we're giving you this because it's coming off hot off the Citron press here, and we know he's moving it. So they're calling CCCX the most compelling trade in quantum. So, and it is flying here right now. It's up over $16, $16.20. It's going straight up. The algo's got a hold of this thing now, and it's moving here. CCCX moving. I have no position, and I wish I would have just bought it. It was $15.50 when I started my sentence. It's $16.50 here now.
So you said it's a SPAC that's already been converted?
No, it hasn't been converted yet, but it's going to become what's the name of this company? It's going to become
Inflection.
Inflection.
Right?
Inflection.
Yeah. The ticker is going to be INFQ. We have the deal confirmed. I'm looking right now to see if the shareholders have voted for it, if we have a date for that. I don't have an answer for you just yet.
Okay.
So we know, we used to call him the bubble buster because he would come in when the bubbles are there and he'd say shorted and the stocks would tank. He's no longer the bubble buster. He doesn't do a lot of shorting anymore, but he does a lot of longing. And there's a lot of positions here that he's been talking about lately here, and he's been moving stocks. So love Citron or hate Citron, you can't argue he's a mover and a shaker, and he just moved CCCX 11%.
He certainly has not been quiet. Just hit a pre-market high at 1645. Last bracket, next bracket on the 1 minute, 1644. Just got to take a look at AMD. AMD still here, holding 220. After that, just a big bump up. So there you go. Big movers here on this Monday.
There's big movers all over the place here. And then we didn't even get to, it's a happy birthday for Mr. Elconin, I believe, here too. Do you still own your shares of CMA?
I do.
Yeah.
I
do.
So
birthday present, Fifth Third said, look, we know it's Joel's 62nd birthday here today, and we want to give him a good birthday present here. So let's go buy Comerica. So they went out there, they bought Joel's stock. CMA, FITB taking over Comerica on a $10.9 billion all-stock deal. You risk arbs out there. I got the ratio for you. If you run it, write it down. It's 1.8863 shares. So Fifth Third, Comerica will get 1.8663. That works out to $82.88. But again, remember, this will trade off the ratio near now and off Fifth Third price, with Fifth Third trading slightly down here in the pre-market. That's not bringing you up to where the 82.88 price. It's about 79.70 is where it's trading the pre-market. But happy birthday, Mr. Elcon, once again, giving you a nice 13% pop in your CMA.
Yeah, I think I got that in a few different portfolios, and that was just buy the dip in the banking crisis. That's like, well, is it good? Is this at the end of the world?
That one worked out. What was the one that didn't work out for you? You had the one bad one in there.
Yeah, I had one. Was it FRC?
Yeah, I think it was.
Is that First Republic?
I went with you, and then I got spooked, and I took a 20% gain on it. And I was like, I'm getting out of this.
I wanted to, but I was like, okay, I think I bought it like 12 or 13 and went to 40. And I'm like, okay, I just, I bought this for a long-term hold, like the
I know, I do the same
CME.
thing.
I did. Well, I got the JP Morgan that day too. And still got it. Don't go into the whole JP Morgan story, but that's rare. A bank deal. I mean,
yeah,
when is the last
Merger Monday.
Merge Monday, but I mean, it's not in the XBI. I mean, this is not, this is really out of the blue. I'll have to look at the price action in Comerica to see if I don't know. Now they're gonna have to change the name of the ballpark because it's Comerica Park, or is it gonna have to be
become Fifth Third?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound as good.
No, it doesn't.
I'm scared. Now you got me scared on this deal.
I know,
Comerica
Joel.
sounds good. Like Comerica Park. I've already gone. Going to Comerica. Watch ball game. Going to Fifth Third Bank Corp.
Yeah, Brett and I wanted to talk to you about that. We'll talk about it after the show.
Uh-oh.
There's a couple games coming up.
Okay. Greg Weldon has entered the studio. I'm getting a message here. We're going to get Greg on in a few minutes here. So we got some exciting guests for you here too. I don't know the banks, one thing is there's value there for sure. The bad thing is though, there's not a lot of AI in banks unless you're in SoFi, and that thing just like as everybody's just talking about SoFi, and it's been moving up here too. So I don't know, but banking sector is just not the story of the day here, even though we have a banking merger. Without that AMD, it might have been a really cool day for banks, but I think it's going to lack, enthusiasm here. With AMD trading up 58 points now, Joel. When is the over-under on when AMD is going to hit a new all-time high? What is the price?
I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say a word here.
227?
I don't.
What's the all-time high?
227.30.
227.30. I'm writing that down. It is going to hit it today. I'm predicting officially. That's not a bold prediction. It's only $4 away from it's up 56 points. I think it hits it before. I don't know.
227. I mean, you can't say anything about this. I mean, it's
nuts, man. It's a huge move. But you know what? If that Reuters article is right, they're getting $100 billion worth of revenue for this over 4 years. You got to start following the contracts. Like that's where we got to start doing maybe now is like looking at these companies that are getting the big contracts. Like Nebius gave us that. We're like, this is on the map for real here now. We could have bought it at 90 after the contract happened, and now it's 132. And the stock just goes up every weekend. I mean, how about those Friday night trades, Brentster? From the STN room. Like we went in a whole pile of stuff in the Friday night trades, including Nebius. Man, there's some big movers there. So the Friday night trades working well here Monday morning. AI day on AI development days. AI stocks are always moving here. Big moves.
Yeah, I mean, keep your eye out. I believe this open AI day starts at 1 p.m. So obviously they've already kicked it off, but who knows what they're going to be associated with next. So big day, big AI day. Nebius traded up 131.98. What's that? That's breaking out over Friday's high.
There are huge moves here. Huge moves. Okay, continuing on with all of our news. We've only covered like 2 stocks here today, so we have a pile of other news as well. Where do you want to go? There's here, let's go.
We
did quantum. Let's go. We're going to do ratings after. There's some real ratings here. I want to do ACHR.
We could do okay, let's do it.
The drone stocks. The drone stocks have been flying. I bought ACHR on the close again. Actually, I bought it after hours because it was drifting down last night. I flipped it out last night at 12:30. But these drone stocks are hot as hell. What is this rumor, Brentster? On oh no, this is it's just up 30% in the last 4 sessions. Like this is just crazy moves. Like, are we full on like trade partying like it's 1999 in some of these stocks here? I want to get Greg's thoughts on this in a few minutes here too. But this feels like we're all just, it's a birthday party for Joel. It's a birthday party for the market. Stocks are all flying here. It feels like we should be taking some money off the table maybe with these crazy moves here. Like, I don't know about coming in here and buying these stocks. Like Archer again. Like I said, even like ARCAT. I said yesterday, Friday morning pre-market prepper, Thursday morning, I think it was 10:50. And I'm like, I kind of like that chart. It went to 14 from 10 in a day. I mean, these drone stocks start going and they just don't stop. Joby's another one. Archer. There's just this market just wants a story. It doesn't give a crap about valuation. Doesn't give a crap about if your stock's trading cheap. It cares about a hot, sexy story. And man, the drone stocks are pretty hot and sexy here right now too.
Yeah, Joby. Well, it's trading up 36 cents right now. I guess we just look at the all-time highs right in this stuff for possible resistance points. For this one, had a high at 1947. That was back on August 7th, but the real numbers, the all-time high, double top just under 21, 2080 and 2095. So another sector just on fire here. It's I don't think I've just seen so much good news, and so just keep coming right at
Well,
you.
AVAV, which is one that I've got in my kids, RESP and on my retirement account as well. Look at the move here. I mean, this is War Drones, AVAV. This in April hit $100. It's $386 this morning. This stock is up 286 points from its $100 low in 5 months. These moves are crazy. Can we bring Greg into this conversation here? Because I'm starting to get bearish almost. I'm like, I love, all my stocks going up here, but man, this is starting to feel like we need to maybe start bringing. I got to get Greg's thoughts.
Great day to have Greg Weldon on, founder of Weldon Online. I'll let Dennis go at you first here. He was raring to have you on.
I'm just looking at these moves here, Greg, and they are starting to go parabolic in so many stocks. I mean, maybe AMD is warranted. It is a big deal, but it's up 35%. I mean, they don't even play games. We saw off Oracle before the big move that it had here too. But there's just so many stocks that are having 10, 20, 30% moves. Big companies have moves. And then these little companies going up 2, 3, 400%, in a day sometimes because they get some, crypto headline or AI headline. I don't know. It's starting to feel more and more like it's 1999. I want to get your thoughts here. What is this like? Is this irrational exuberance happening here right in front of our eyes, or does this bubble just continue to inflate?
It's kind of both. I mean, it's bubblicious is what I call it. There's no doubt there are signs here that this market has been inflated beyond what the underlying fundamentals might at least immediately support. What's interesting about it is, to me, a lot of this is based on the Fed and the dollar. And if you look at the dollar, you're into a point where you're on the verge of a major secular breakdown. You have this whole thing with trade, and you have a lot of things going on today where the dollar's rallying. Why? Because, the French government's falling apart. They're worried about their budget. You have a new Japanese prime minister. All of a sudden, now they're going to go back to a dovish policy, even though they're uber dovish already. You look at the ECB, where they're at a rate now where they're below the rate, their policy rate below the German inflation rate, when you have stagflation developing in Germany. So you can look at a lot of things here where you have policy in a lot of these countries that's uber easy relative to inflation, which continues to funnel this liquidity rush. And then you have kind of a select few areas where the money's going. And you say there's a lot of stocks, and there is, but what we see here is a broadening out. You have positives in the sense of bond yields looking to break down, the 2-year potentially taking out 3.5 if the Fed were to get to neutral. The Fed says they want to stay restrictive, which if you look at the backdrop, especially in the data we got last week from the ISM service sector, backlog of orders, 16-year low, the unemployment dynamic coming in dramatically, ADP, jobs lost 3 out of the last 4 months, and now 7 out of the 10 major sectors posted a job loss in the most recent month. And the Fed wants to stay restrictive. And yet some of these areas just keep chugging along. There's still ample liquidity. And it seems to me to be kind of a narrowing degree of focus to where the chips are back on top. You see the XSD leading the way. The XLK is making new highs against the S&P again. So you have that going for you. What you don't have is the consumer and the underlying final demand dynamic in the U.S. economy, especially in the service sector, which is coming unglued at an astonishing rate. But you see at the same time a rotation of money out of other areas, even out of some of the AI and some of the bubblicious areas into metals, and not just precious metal, but now the industrial metals too, where you're talking about something like the COPX, for example, and copper. Talk about this AI build out. Trump's in the White House saying we're going to need to double our energy capacity. Copper is right in the mainstream of this, where you talk about supply demand fundamental, where the inventories have fallen by 50% since the highs they set last year. You're moving into a backwardated state in copper, and you had this big decline because all this copper came to the U.S. You're talking to store it ahead of the tariffs and everything, and that is completely worn off. And you see something that the COPX is actually outperforming the semiconductors right now. So there is a lot going on, and there are a lot of areas that are red hot. But at the same time, I think there's dangers here. If the dollar were to rally, that's the number one danger. If the Fed's going to make a policy error, which I think they're doing, that could be a danger. And the consumer and the underlying situation, the consumer, which is very unhealthy, that's a danger too. So it's a very two-sided market. And that's why you see a lot of the volatility you're seeing.
What about like this broadening out of the overall market, where we've actually seen some value stocks starting to show some life here? Drug stocks really started to show some life last week, and they've been beaten down for dead. Like, I mean, to a point where some of these PEs on like Bristol Myers and Pfizer are sub 10. I mean, these stocks are just, printing money. They got nice dividends, but nobody likes them because they don't have a sexy story here. Is that where the money's going to go if this other bubblicious stuff stops to working, or is this just a sector that's just been out of favor for so long that you just stay away?
Yeah, I think it's an offshoot of all this liquidity, and then you start to say, well, is this sector overvalued? And clearly you can make a case in AI that is very bubblicious here at these levels, especially with this latest jump in some of the chip stocks. So when then you look at something like the XPH, which I noticed actually this morning breaking out, even the healthcare sector looks pretty good, but it does seem to be kind of the, you're moving into the things that haven't moved. And my experience doing this, as long as I've been doing it, is when you see, it's kind of like when the precious metals people start buying palladium. It's like, you're kind of maybe towards the end of the rope here because everyone's piling into the least attractive thing here. And that's a sign that the clock is kind of running on you. So I would say you're 100% accurate with your observation. There's no doubt, especially the pharma looks pretty interesting too, especially with the backdrop of what's going on with, potentially drug prices. So I would say there's a lot of risk here in this market. And just from the pure fact that some of these things, you look at something like, some of the futures markets, for example, these prices are so high. The contract values are so large now that a normal 2 or 3% move represents so much more money. So I think this is going to make the markets a lot more skittish and a lot more two-way as well, and it's going to give you more resistance to the upside here as you continue to progress higher.
You mentioned policy error. I mean, what could go wrong, right? I mean, it's something else we trust. That was your title from your note on Thursday. Let's talk about the potential policy error.
Yeah, and that's funny you mentioned that because yes, it's kind of saying God we trust, and that's on the dollar, right? And you've had this situation really since World War II, since Bretton Woods, since we got the right to seniorage, which basically means we can print as much money and sell as much debt as we want to. That in the dollar we trust, and now people are saying in the dollar we don't trust so much. In the U.S. government, I mean, they're shut down. And people are racing to the dollar today because of situations in Japan and France. And it's kind of funny to me. It's like, but do people really trust the dollar? Well, in a day like today, when the dollar is rallying pretty significantly across the board, gold would normally be going down. You might even see the crypto going down. But what's happening? They're rallying in dollar terms. So this is still the thing where people are beginning to trust something else more than the dollar. And I think that this ties in with the whole geopolitical picture where you have China, OPEC, Russia, India, South Africa, Brazil kind of teaming up together. You don't hear much about the BRICS unit anymore. It's as if Trump, talked it down and it's no longer, being talked about. Well, you better believe in the back rooms and, behind closed doors, this is more urgent than ever for these countries to move away from sanctions and tariffs and asset seizures and all the stuff that the dollar has, let alone we have a government shut down. We have $36 trillion in debt. And we're arguing on television about did Trump wear a sombrero and is that racist? I mean, it's gotten to the point of chaos and insanity here in the U.S., where the police are protecting the Antifa protesters instead of the, ICE agents who are citizens here trying to, enact the law here. So I think that a lot of this leads to the dollar. And then when you talk about the Fed, who continues to see that inflation, and if you read the comments in both the ISM service sector and the manufacturing sector both. The bulk of the comments were around tariffs and how it's finally beginning to impact prices and costs. And how also, and you see this in the beige book as well, that consumers are a little more price pushback now. There's a little less pricing power now because the consumer, let's face it, you might be looking at 4%, wage growth, but you're looking at, 4% in most service sector. I mean, over 40% of service sector CPI indicators, and there's 77 of them, over 40% are above 3.5% year over year. So you still have inflation. So the Fed is kind of, saying, well, we have to remain vigilant. And if you listen to what they said and to what the minutes of that meeting came out with, it was pretty obvious that Powell was saying, look, we're taking an insurance policy move here. All right. It's almost like one and done. And he actually went so forward as to say in the dot plot, you see several people that say we're not going to cut again this year. At the same time, when they probably should be neutral. Why? Because the consumer is choking. If you look at PCE, if you look at retail sales, you look at any of these numbers and compare them to inflation, the consumer is choking. If you take the fact that consumer savings is now less than credit card debt, all right, and all that savings we had during the pandemic has been spent. If you look at the fact that consumption expenditures on a month-to-month basis higher than disposable income. When you look at credit card delinquency rates on seriously delinquent at 12%, the only other time it was higher was in 2009, the global financial crisis. The consumer's choking, he's cocooning. You can see it, having to spend all his money on necessities. You get inflation to go up again, it's going to be very deflationary for final demand. And I think the Fed is behind the curve in getting to neutral before inflation starts to rise because it'll be more difficult. But I think, and I said on your show before, and one of my main themes for this year is the Fed will ultimately be forced to acquiesce to higher rates of inflation to protect the consumer, to protect housing, to protect the labor market. I mean, housing's in crisis. We're not even talking about that. So I think the Fed is behind the curve here, and the risk of a policy error is getting greater pretty much every day.
So you're not buying another cut this year and then maybe 2 this year and then 26. I mean, I think that's kind of the way that we interpret it here, but
that's the way the market interprets it, and it's the way I would interpret it. I would say you need to get to neutral faster than that, frankly, but that's just not the way it's going to happen. I'm talking about listen to what Powell is saying, listen to what the Fed is saying, and understanding that that's kind of their job. They need to instill confidence if they're confident. And I would also say, hey, maybe this bubblicious stock market is another reason they don't want to act too fast. I mean, they really want to be cutting rates dramatically when the stock market's making new highs every day.
It's unreal.
That kind of goes against one another too. So, man, the cross currents here are tough. I don't like to criticize the Fed because I wouldn't want to do that job. The hardest job in the world. Couldn't pay me enough money. But Powell has missed the curve and missed the turn at each of the last 2 turns that are big turns in inflation and policy. He's missing the turn again here. And I think if you kind of look at what the bond market is even telling you is, the longer they wait to get to neutral, the worse that's going to be in the economy. Because look at the long end. I mean, the long end yields are about to break down too. And if you look at the inflation picture, that shouldn't be happening. So the cross currents are really violent here, and it's going to become trickier and trickier as we go forward to kind of navigate all this. And I think when you see the commodity sector doing what it's doing and the dollar with the potential for a major breakdown, that those are 2 things that really need to stay in focus for investors.
I mean, we've been talking about that for, the last few months, just people saying how great the S&P is doing there. But when you value it in world dollars here, it has not been a great year. I don't know where the dollar sits now, but last time I looked, I think we were down almost 9% on the year, and the S&P was sitting up 12 or 13. Yeah. I mean, that's not a huge gain. So, money definitely going elsewhere too. I mean, international markets are outperforming the U.S. by far here this year. Yeah. China's on fire. Europe's been on fire. You can just go across the board pretty much. Some money is going internationally. Do you think that's because of, uncertainty here in the U.S. with, where policy's going, with, where things are happening here? But it's very clear, like, maybe we should just stop and talk China for a second here, because this has been the best run for China in a very long time.
It is a lot of in the dollar we don't trust. And what's interesting about that is you're right on, really until just recently, because now you see signs in Germany of a rollover, in France in a rollover, and you see the euro breaking out against the dollar, right, outside of what we see today, which I think is going to be short-lived and is temporary because of what's happening in Japan and France. But if you look at that perspective, you even see that the DAX now is beginning to roll over against the S&P. And I think that that's maybe why some of this money is coming back in and driving the chips back higher again here. But I also think all of that is short-lived because of the things you just said and really driving people away from the dollar. Right now, a lower dollar is the number one thing for the stock market. It's the tightest inverse correlation, and it is the most reliable one. Lower dollar, higher stocks. Higher dollar, lower stocks. So a lower dollar is one of the better things for stocks. It is the reason I think that it is performing the way it is. And you nailed it right in the head when you say, look, the stock market is not keeping pace with the devaluation in the purchasing power of the dollar. And that is typical of any of these countries, whether it be Argentina, Venezuela, Pakistan, Nigeria, Turkey, any of them. All right, the currency gets whacked. Stock market makes a new high every day in Argentina, but it's not expanding the wealth, expanding the standard of living because it's not keeping pace. And I think when you see something like copper or gold or uranium or even lithium now outperforming tech, let alone the S&P, and we're talking about 4,000, 5,000 basis points on a rolling 52-week basis. I think that is screaming dollar negativity. Stocks don't keep pace. You need to be more diversified, and playing into the resources and commodities is going to be more important for the average investor out there. And I think you're starting to see a rotation of Wall Street money into these things. Because if you take a look at gold, like open interest is still very low. It's not a speculative fervor. This is central banks dumping treasuries, using those dollars to buy gold. Why? Because in the dollar we no longer trust. We'd rather hold gold in reserve than dollars, and that also plays into the eventuality of a BRICS unit. So I think that, the landscape is changing in ways that I'm not sure everyone is fully cognizant of yet, and I think that has a lot to do with stuff like literally, talk about uranium and energy. You talk about the lithium market. You talk about copper. These are markets that 3 or 4 years from now are going to be so out of balance, there's no telling where prices could be on some of this stuff, and it will far outperform the stock market, I think, in the coming years.
Does crypto benefit here too, or is crypto just too much risk on asset and trades like overall with stocks? Like, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin here as, an alternative to the dollar? I think it does have some benefit to that, but I've also said for a long time, it seems like Bitcoin is just like a NASDAQ stock and kind of moves with that there too. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin going forward?
Everything you just said, you nailed it. It really is. It's funny about Bitcoin, okay? So they want it to be decentralized, and they didn't want to be the norm, right? So what they do, they choose a gold coin with a $B sign to not be gold or the dollar. It's kind of like, okay, that seems fraudulent right off the bat, right? Then they say they want to be decentralized when, at one point, 88% of every Bitcoin mine was held by the dark pools that mine them, right? So it's the most centralized held thing. And then you say you don't want to be mainstream, all right? You don't want to be regulated. A few people get ripped off. What are they going to do? They're going to regulate it. Then it's like, well, we need the next, trigger to get this thing higher. What is it? ETFs. So now it's become a stock. So it is tied more to the stock market than it is really to an anti-dollar play. But I also agree with what you just said, that it could become that. Because to me, the thing about Bitcoin and even kind of all the crypto, I like Ethereum a lot. We made a lot of money in Ethereum in the third quarter because it was so undervalued to Bitcoin, and it still is. But I think the value going forward is in that kind of thing in countries where you can't go to the pawn shop and buy gold. You don't have a safety deposit box to put your gold. All these countries where the currencies are getting smashed, and the value of the purchasing power of that currency internationally is now just getting decimated. Even like the Japanese yen. Gold and yen's up has tripled since 2001. It's really amazing when you look at gold and all these currencies. So the currencies that where you have a phone, you have a wallet, you might be able to buy fractal Bitcoin or some of these other crypto tokens, as opposed to holding gold, which you can't do, and as opposed to holding a local currency. I think that's the next big driving force for crypto. But the risk here is, if the stock market does come through some kind of economic reality check, that these things will be sold because so many people own them in ETFs, and that's the way it rolls. When you saw in 2008, gold was a big deal longer term, but it got whacked just like everything else got whacked because all asset prices went down.
All right, Greg, one final question here before we let you go. I know you're a pit trader back in the day, and I believe in the gold pit and everything. And the pit, it'd be bid. We'd be going up. And then a big offer would come in.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs or something like that.
Yeah.
Where's the offer? Like where's the turn? What are you looking for in this market? I mean, you've said some, very positive things for the commodities here, and which could lead to rapid inflation. What's the catalyst here for to put a stop to this euphoria?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And it's, what I have found in my career is you can see stuff because I dig so deep in the data. I tend to see it while it's still kind of what you might call below ground. And you need some kind of story and some kind of, thing where the evidence rises above ground and everyone sees it. And it's like an epiphany, as if this hasn't been developing for weeks, if not months. And one day it's a story. I've been sitting here talking about it for 3 weeks and now it's a story. So I think in terms of that, it gets back to what you're saying in terms of the market. And again, like being in there and it's like, buy them. And all of a sudden it's like, no, sell. And there's no one to buy. And that's when you look at some of the NVIDIAs of the world and you look at the profile of the return, the on-balance volume, the accumulation. These stocks have been accumulated. And as they go higher, and this was the case before Amazon split. I was all over this with Amazon that it was going to get hit. Because when you get these stocks to be really high priced, all right, and you have pretty much everyone that wants to own them owns them. The ownership is enormous. It's broad-based. What happens if people are going to take profits? And right now you have a diminished rate of return, even in NVIDIA, even though it's still a pretty solid rate of return, it's diminished over time. And you have more people owning it now than ever. All right. So what if they turn around and want to either take profits or, gosh forbid, you get a sell-off and now some of that money is actually bleeding, right, underwater, and you go and sell it. There's nobody buying block shares of these stocks that are so high priced that everyone owns that nobody's going to want to buy that much. I call it a buyer's vacuum. I think if you get some kind of catalyst that might be geopolitical in nature, you never know what the catalyst is going to be, but you know what's going to happen when the catalyst hits. And to me, that's the setup here where the market could get a little loose, more than people might expect, simply because the volume and the ownership and the profile about the way these things trade could leave you in a buyer's vacuum for short periods of time where these stocks go down before, you got a market order, you got to keep offering it, you got to sell it to wherever the bid is. So you may be in a position where you're looking for bids in some of these things on the downside if you get the right setup.
All right, we'll keep informed with Greg Weldon, founder of Weldon Online, giving us some commodity updates, some dollar updates, interest rate updates. Greg, love your enthusiasm. We'll be dialing you up again real soon on Pre-Market Prep.
Thanks, guys. You do a great job. So kudos to you, too.
That's great.
Okay. Market update here, peeled back a little bit. AMD price discovery here, Dennis, starting to calm down here, get a little bit tight.
Breathing. Let it breathe.
The
algos weren't letting it breathe. Just going up, and let it breathe. I still think it hit an all-time high today. But
225.35.
If you want to take your 35% profit from the overnight, I'm not going to argue with you. There's going to be some profit takers here for sure. I mean, chasing stocks kind of feels like Oracle to a certain extent, where Oracle had the huge pop on the big contract, and then obviously, or on the big revenue guidance, and then, has leaked kind of since, a little bit of buyer exhaustion comes in. I think chasing AMD up 35% is not prudent. Not chasing stock. I'm long AMD, staying long AMD, but chasing it up here, I think you maybe get a shot at this again, better prices. But I still think it's all-time high. Brentster.
Hey, want to pop in and say thanks to our sponsor, Hive Digital Technologies, a global leader in green-powered data centers for Bitcoin mining, high-performance computing, and AI, operating with nearly 0.5 gigawatt of renewable energy. Hive is on track to capture 3% of the world's Bitcoin production by the end of this year. They got about 1% to go. We had an update a couple weeks ago that they were around 2%. Scan the QR code in the bottom right corner of your screen. Right now, you can learn more about Hive. There's also a link in the description of this YouTube video. Thanks again to Hive Digital Technologies.
Bitcoin's just been moving here. Hive has been a beneficiary of that as well, but Bitcoin breaking out here again this morning. It's hard to bet against it. We just had Greg on talking, and, obviously dollar weakness is probably a Bitcoin strength here. So it's an alternative. I do believe, it's kind of moves with the stock market overall as well. And the NASDAQ kind of trades like a NASDAQ stock. But money is looking for alternatives to the dollar. It can clearly be seen, with the dollar's weakness this year, treasuries continuing to be weak despite interest rates, short-term interest rates starting to go down. So you got to think like, crypto is here for, to stay. And there's a reason, like we look back, Joel, where we were 3 or 4 years ago, and we're like, I don't know about this whole crypto stuff. I think it's a bubble, it could burst. Then I know a couple years ago, I started, getting talk. Mark Yusko on our show, who we should have back sometime, saying, basically just, get off zero because it's not going away. Bitcoin's not going away. I was like, you know what? It's not going away. And then I bought some Bitcoin at like, I don't know, 28,000 or something like that. And, it's been a great investment here. So I'm hodling the Bitcoin. I think it doesn't go away. And I think it's, at this point in time, we've got to have a little bit of coverage of it on our show as well, because crypto is a real asset and money is really flying into some of these names. That's why, we're aligned with a Hive blockchain now as a sponsor, but we're also doing our regular, 15-minute segment on crypto once a week here to get some people coming in. Obviously, great guests we had last week as well. So I think, the crypto story, as much as some people really hate it, it's not going away.
Yeah, the all-time high basis the futures is 126,660, and the open interest here, I'm just like to keep an eye on the open interest for the futures contracts. It's just been steadily building, and I believe it's at an all-time high too. So we only have about 4 minutes left here in the show. A lot of ratings here to cover. Some days ratings could be a little bit more influential than others, but this AMD news is dominating things here. Dennis, what kind of
well, let's start with Micron. Gets an upgrade to overweight at Morgan Stanley here. It is AI day. The stock was going to go up no matter what, but the timing of the overweight is going to move the stock even more. It is flirting with $200 a share here now. Remember, Micron is always cyclical. The earnings here are very cyclical. And, they can look very cheap at times and very expensive at other times as DRAM pricing moves around. Micron analyst, Morgan Stanley analyst Joseph Moore is upgrading Micron to overweight with a price target of $220 here, which, if it continues at this rate, it's going to be there tomorrow. The analyst comments, momentum on core DRAM pricing continues to surprise us, while at the same time, near-term worries on HBM are becoming solved by DRAM economic improvement. Our checks at DRAM continue to get stronger with potential for double-digit sequential price improvement calendar. And while the direct causes are hard to pinpoint, sentiment from our industry contacts that DRAM may be tight for several quarters is increasingly widespread among our contacts in the purchasing world. So they're not seeing any sell-off in DRAM pricing. We know Micron will move directly with DRAM pricing.
If your target was 199.87, that's what you had in the pre-market. That's $2 away. So keep an eye on that. Psychological $200 level. That's about all that you can have. This is also exceeding its average daily range. So gonna need a lot more buyers to keep pushing this thing higher. You can always probably look at AMD, even if you're not trading it today. Keep an eye on that as an indicator for a lot of stocks still being well bid up here. But Micron trying to get over $200. LAC down to underperform in Scotiabank.
Yeah, it gets downgraded. One, Scotiabank doesn't matter. Two, even though I bank there. Two is the story is just so hot right now. And anything that's getting touched with like the Trump touch is just like relentlessly bought. And it's continuing to be up. Downgraded today, doesn't matter. Stock goes up. Brentster, what was the stock this morning that was rumored here? CRML or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
rumors that Trump might take a stake in this one too. Not Trump, but Trump on
the administration.
It's fine.
You can.
It's up 37%. Like he's got the Midas touch right now here. Like love him or hate him, if you get a Trump thing, the algos all go nuts. So Trump like touching or rumored to be touching CRML, it blasts off. LIC can't stop going up since the rumors have started here. This is just like, wow. I don't even know what it's just. The money is being made so easy on the long side right now. Like I stopped myself and I'm like, I'm still doing hedging and I'm long some stocks and some retail stocks over the weekend. Then I short a little bit of spies and Qs against it. I'm like, why even bother? All I do is lose on the hedge because the stocks only go up right now. Eventually there's going to be, and that's where it's got to be getting to a point It's got to be a significant rug pull coming here sometime. Like I think this week we're gonna have a violent sell-off. Like I think it's coming here because it's just so easy on the long side now. Shorts are spooked. It's the third day where I've got people messaging me and saying, "How can you short anything?" I'm like, I don't know. Like,
was
you know,
been
when
after
I
a
run a
couple
market
weeks here.
neutral portfolio, meaning like I'm long stock, short, you know, something else against it to try to just extract the alpha from like, you know, different reasons. I mean, market neutral strategies suck right now. It's all about just being flat out long. And I don't know what turns it, but I think eventually we're going to get a rug pull here.
This LAC hit 1601 in the 415 bracket between 4 and
What
4.
did LAC hit what?
16.
No, you're on CRML. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's like LAC hit that. Like
Yeah,
CRML.
no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But it's still off CRML. So stick with
Yeah.
CRML. LAC's boring. Get it off.
Yeah,
CRML.
CRML. Wow. They sold it. I mean, and 700,000 shares traded between that time. So someone got a little bit carried away. Can we get back to the top of yesterday's range? Nope, maybe 879. Boy, it's another stock on the move. Dennis, we're leaking here a little bit into the close. So nice distance off that.
It's gonna be violent rotation here today. When you see AMD up 35% and the chips are just ripping higher, there is going to be some losers that they're going to take money out. So ETF rotation is real, folks. ETF effects are real. You have to respect them. So when you have the sexy story being AMD and all of the other AI plays here this morning, it's probably money's going to come out of the other stocks. So I would think NVIDIA is leaking and NVIDIA is a clear loser. So that's not surprising to me. Probably why the S&Ps are weak here too. But Meta has rolled over now and went red. Google has rolled over now and went red. It would not surprise me if Amazon rolls over. I'm short Amazon here right now. Full disclosure, as a trade, I'm long in the long-term account, but short as a trade here right now because I feel like there's going to be some rollover in some other stocks here. I mean, Tesla's up 2.5% here too, which we didn't even talk about Tesla. It's having a nice snapback rally from its fall off last week off of its decent numbers actually. So I do think what the S&P is only up 0.28%, and a lot of stocks up like 4, 5, 6%. I'm looking at my screen. Shopify up 4%, ARK's up 3%, Micron up 5%, Tesla up 2.5%. There's going to be some losers here, folks. So there's going to be some stocks that are actually going down here this morning.
All right, we'll figure out that wicked rotation over on the Stock Trader Network, folks. Getting things off with like a fury here on this Monday morning. Thanks for joining us.